If you give an answer from the Quran, that's it. Nobody can dispute with you. Because this is absolute truth in the Quran. So let's go to the Quran to find an answer to the question. Here is Nabi Isa alayhi salam who returns. And he has his ummah who is following him, not us. So there is this ummah and there is our ummah. How long will this last? That's the question. So let's go to the Quran for the answer. And it's there in Surah Al Imran. It's called Allahu Ya Isa. And Allah says, "Oh Jesus, Inni mutawaffi, I'm going to take your soul." And of course, you know, when Allah takes the soul, there are only two possibilities. Only two, not three. Either He keeps the soul, in which case you're dead, or He returns the soul. Surah Al-Zumar, in which case you didn't die. But when He took the soul of Nabi Isa alayhi salam, He didn't keep it. Because they didn't kill Him, they didn't crucify Him. So there's only one other possibility, not two, only one. When He took the soul, He returned it. That's it. And when He returned it when they couldn't see, they didn't know, and then Allah raised Him. وَمُطَهِّرُكَ مِنَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. And I'm going to cleanse you and purify you. Cleansing and purifying is always cleansing and purifying of mud and rubbish that they throw on you, the lies that they talk about you. Their rejection of you is the Messiah, what they said about your mother. And then these people join with them in alliance, so they become part of the rubbish being thrown on you. I'm going to cleanse you of that. And that should bring joy and heart to the Muslims. How will Allah cleanse him? What will Allah do to cleanse him of that rubbish? Listen to what He do. وَجَاعِلُ الَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوكَ فَوْقَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. This is how you're going to cleanse them. I'm going to raise these who follow you. These who follow you, your ummah. I'm going to raise them high and above and dominant over these who throw rubbish at you and who commit kufr by declaring a man could marry another man and get a marriage certificate. But that's not the end of the ayah. When I raise these dominant over them, it will continue ila yawmil qiyamah. We have scholars present here in this gathering. So when the Quran declares that the ummah of Nabi Isa alayhi salam, which follows him, will be raised high and above and dominant over that part which commits kufr, and this will continue until the end of the world. The implication is as plain as daylight, that they will continue to follow him until the end of the world. And so this ummah will continue in existence until the end of the world. There is the answer. That history will end with two ummahs, not one. Sometimes it's difficult to swallow the Quran. When the Quran is telling us that Allah is going to intervene, and Allah is going to raise a Christian people who follow Him above and dominant over those who commit kufr, then why should there be some difficulty in your heart? to turn to those Christian people with friendship and alliance and brotherhood and love when Allah is on their side. What's wrong with your heart? What's wrong with your capacity to think? When Allah says, I am going to do it, I am on their side, but you wouldn't be on their side because of your mantra, Assad this and Assad that, and Putin this and Putin that. Wait until that day when the veils are taken off your eyes and the brainwashing has ended and you realize that you've been misled by the sheikh who didn't have knowledge of the Quran and could not read the word correctly. We have in this gathering here one who experienced all of that for 20 years. And he's right here now in Birmingham, and he's right here in this masjid tonight. So he can tell you about it. This then is Rome, with whom we should make the alliance. If this alliance is to take place, and at this time we see the forces all ranged against us, with Putin this and Putin that, and Assad this and Assad that, how will the alliance come into being? Look at the prophecy of Nabi Muhammad who tells us how the alliance will come into being, whether they like it or whether they don't. He said that Imran Hosein al-Maqdis, a hadith of Sunan al-Bayhaqi, narrated by Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, when Jerusalem is center stage, and we see Jerusalem moving to center stage when Trump recognizes Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Imran Hosein al-Maqdis, Kharabu Yathrib. At that time, Yathrib, now known as Medina, is in forlorn desolation. That is the time when Kharabu Yathrib Khuruj al-Malhama, the Great War will take place. That is where we are now. The Great War will take place. The Malhama or Armaggedon. Is there life on earth after that? Nuclear war? Yes, there will be. Because Surah Al-Rahman tells us that not all the missiles will be able to fly on that day. Surah Al-Rahman tells us some of the missiles won't fly and others will not fly in the direction they're supposed to fly. Because Allah sent angels at the battle, in the Battle of Badr. And Allah can send thousands of angels in this war which is coming. And so not all missiles will fly on that day. And not all of them will fly in the direction they're supposed to fly. So this is not going to be the end of the world. If you read Surah Al-Rahman, you'll know this is not the end of the world. No. So after the Malhama, there is still life on earth. And the Prophet said, Khurujul Malhama, Fathul Constantinia. That the conquest of Constantinople takes place after the Malhama. The conquest of Constantinople will take place after the Malhama. For those who still have the capacity to think, and not all people can think anymore today. Has the Malhama taken place as yet? The Great War, Armaggedon?
No.
Not from our perspective. Because the Malhama will take place when 99 out of every 100 will die in that war. And there's never been a war like that in history. There's never been a war like that in history, when 99% of all combatants have died, have been killed. So the malhama has not as yet taken place. It's difficult for Turkey and for the Balkans to stomach that. But I can't help you. You have to help yourself. I am teaching you the truth. Others may have taught you other things. The malhama has not as yet taken place. And so the conquest of Constantinople prophesied by Nabi Muhammad ﷺ has not as yet taken place. Whether you like it or whether you don't is irrelevant to us. This is the truth. This is not Hollywood. Well, why the conquest of Constantinople after the malhama? Because we know that Allah is intervening in the malhama. Because Allah says in Surah Al-Rahman, and I love it, oh yes, I love it, سَنُفْرَغُ لَكُمْ أَيُّهَا الثَّقَلَانِ. We're going to deal with you. You who are loaded with sin. We're going to deal with you. And then he tells us how he's going to deal with them. يُرْسَلُ عَلَيْكُمَا شُوَازٌ مِّن نَارٍ وَنُحَاسٌ فَلَا تَنْتَصِرَانِ. I'm going to send against you a flash of fire, which will be followed by smoke. And at that time, there'll be none to help you. That looks like nuclear war to me. So Allah is going to deal with them. And if Allah intervenes in the malhama, it must be by Allah's design that the conquest of Constantinople takes place after the malhama, not by accident. So why should Allah ordain that the conquest of Constantinople should take place after the malhama? Answer? Because our Christian allies, those who are following Nabi Isa alayhi salam, they need the Bosphorus to come to the Mediterranean. And these Christians control the Bosphorus. They control it through their ally, the Ottoman Empire. And then they control it through NATO and this secular state of Turkey, which is a member of NATO. But now, after the malhama, goodbye to NATO. So the conquest of Constantinople can take place not with a Christian army, a Muslim army. The Christians must not make the mistake. Let me use this message to send a message to them. Don't make the mistake to send an army to conquer Constantinople. Because if you do that, the Dajjal will be very happy. He will unite the whole world of Islam against you. So leave it to us, we will liberate Constantinople. So the first implication of the liberation of Constantinople is that our Christian allies with whom we make an alliance will now be able to pass through the Bosphorus to come into the Mediterranean. And that's bad news for Israel.